What's up, everybody? This is Pac-Man 1987. If you're on my channel Crash Desktop on YouTube, welcome. And this is the third session where I'm working on this. This is my Apollo recreation I'm doing for the anniversary. And it's pretty much done. It's designed, it's built, it's ready to roll. I'm just going to do a quick final checkout on the design, make sure I didn't miss anything or goof anything up. I have tweaked it a little bit from the last episode just for a little more accuracy. A couple of new things that I found and things that I remembered. And it should be pretty solid now. Look at that thing. Look how nice that looks. Oh, it's great. Alright, so let's take a quick look. We're going to move up the stack, check all our staging, check our design. What do we got? We got our first stage. These are Mastodon rockets. They are simulating the F1 engines. All 5 of them. Ooh! And there we go. I just found the first thing that I missed. We need to tweak some action groups. Because I realized today, what I used to do is I would simulate center engine cutoff by throttling down 20%. I don't have to do that now. I can just turn the engine off like the real thing. How cool is that? So we're going to set that up real quick. So that is actually going to be action group 1. So we need to change all these action groups real quick. Let's see. Shut down the engine. Okay. I wish I could, like, move them around. That would make me really happy, but we can't. So, let's go back up the stack here real quick. We gotta tweak some action groups. Well, you know what? We'll get those in a minute. Let's just look at what we got. Okay. So, we've got our 5 Mastodon / F1 engines at the bottom on our first stage. These little guys are retro rockets. The real one had them, I believe, nested in these shrouds, but we can't do that because these aren't actually physical objects in Kerbal Space Program, apparently. Like, you can't stick things to them. I think if you turn off symmetry, you can, but it's kind of janky, so I didn't bother. And there would be this many. They were pairs in clusters mounted in here. And those are just going to help separation of the first and second stage. Moving up, we have our inner stage. I moved the retro rockets down onto the inner stage because that is actually correct. The way it worked is it separated. Those fired as it separated. Those fired as it separated. And then after a few seconds, the inner stage would drop away as the J2 rockets began firing. Now, we have Mastodons in here because the J2 equivalent in this game, which I believe is the skiff, it seems to be, doesn't have enough thrust. So we had to use Mastodons that were throttled down. There's only 4 of them. So what are you going to do? There should be 5 J2s. Same thing, we're going to simulate center engine cutoff partway through the launch by just throttling down. Moving up, we got our third stage. This one also has retro rockets. And I left the separator in there. There are explosive bolts on every stage, so there's a little bit of separation for us. It's not much. So those will help a little bit there. I added something. The third stage had an auxiliary propulsion system on it, and I'm leaving out, there actually would have been another nozzle pointing backwards to add ullage. It would fire for a few seconds before they ignited the engine the second time. We don't need that in Kerbal because there is no ullage, so I'm leaving it out. But I am leaving in, these are the maneuvering thrusters. They were down at the bottom. There were 2 units of them as far as I can tell. And it allowed it to roll, pitch, and yaw. And that is how the entire third stage stack would be able to maneuver in orbit. Now this may or may not work very well. I haven't tested it at all yet, so this will be the first time we try this. And it may or may not have enough thrust or delta V to really do anything of any use. So we'll see. That all looks good. This all looks good staging wise, so we're going to find out pretty quick in orbit. Seems to have glitched out the interface a bit, so it's not really telling me what we need to know. There we go. Parachutes looking great. Separator looking great. That's looking good. That's looking good. That's looking good. This all looks pretty good. I think we're in business. But we need to fix our action groups now. So what are our action groups doing? We have an abort group that's going to, in the case of an abort being needed, which we don't need, but I built it in anyway, we can test it. This would stack separate here and fire this. Pretty simple. That's the abort sequence. Custom 1 is going to be our shutdown on the center engine on the first stage. We're just going to move up the line. Custom 2 will be the separation of this tower. So activate engine and then decouple this node. Custom 3 is going to be once we're in orbit, we need to turn on the fuel cell. And we need to turn on the lights. I think there was one other thing we needed to do. Oh yeah, activate these. Let's get a little closer to that. Alright, so that'll... Action Group 3 is going to activate our auxiliary propulsion system and our lights and our fuel cell, which we probably don't even actually need, but I have it in there because it should be there. Action Group 4 is going to decouple this node and activate the RCS thrusters here. All of these are turned off at first, so that we don't accidentally use them when we don't want to. Action Group 5 will decouple this node to allow the whole thing to separate once it's docked. Second, I want to make sure I have the right node. Okay. Let's see. That looks good. Action Group 5 is that. Action Group 6. That's going to be decoupling the limb. Turning on its lights and activating its RCS thrust. Action Group 7 will be a backup in the case that the staging decides to be stupid. It will activate that engine. I don't think we have to worry about jettison shroud, but I'm going to put it in there anyway, and then decouple this. So this will be our backup launch sequence. And I'm pretty sure that's about it, really. We could throw one in. I don't really want an accidental button press to decouple this, though. I feel like that's the most important one to not have that happen. So I think we're golden. Seems that way. Let's test this bad boy out. Somehow I managed to lose Jeb and everybody else, but that's okay, because we'll just do a different save when we actually fly this. They will be there. So it's looking solid. Let's find out what we screwed up, because inevitably something will be messed up. And we might need to do some tweaking. We'll see. I want to look at one thing on my original plan. Okay. Looking good. Looking real good. Let's fire this bad boy off. We may want to warp to next morning though. Just to make sure we're flying in the light. Okay. We shouldn't need any of this madness over here once it pops up. Yeah, I don't really think I need that. We'll just hide that for now. Alright, so we start with SAS on, we throttle up all the way, put it in fine controls. Let's launch this bad boy. Looking good. These guys and their mustaches. Now, the real thing would have been immediately pitched over, but we can't do that in Kerbal because the atmosphere is so thick, so I usually wait until about 135 meters per second vertical speed on these big rockets just to get them going. We're actually at the point where we want to center engine cut off. We're just going to damp out any roll that starts. Give it little tiny inputs. It's looking good so far. That may be enough right there. I think we need to probably adjust our flight path there a bit. Maybe be less aggressive with it. Yeah, let's revert. Wasn't quite what I wanted. I'm going to hold it on SAS instead. Or maybe we'll start the... I don't know. We'll see. Try a couple things. Every time you make tweaks to the rockets, you got to change what you're doing. Just a smidge. Maybe we'll pitch over a little bit differently this time. It's looking great, though. Actually, one second. I think I'm misreading something. That was why it was doing it too quickly, is because I cut off the engine way too soon. Because I'm forgetting that this meter is showing me how much fuel I have at the very get-go. Yeah. So we want to do it when it's at like the Q, maybe, is when we want to do the center engine cutoff. That was why. So that's important details. Okay, looking great. Looking real good. Pitching over. 5 degrees. Let it catch up. As soon as the node catches up, just let it chase it. Now we do the cutoff. That's looking way better. Look at that. Little things matter. About to have our first stage run out. Separation. Oh, that looks great. All right. Now we slowly speed up into orbit. We're gonna cancel out this inclination that's forming. And we can jettison that bad boy. We may need to tweak that too. It's pitching over pretty fast. But that's going to give us a lot of horizontal speed, which is good. Nope. We needed to rise a little more aggressively there. We shouldn't be getting any of that. What's my thrust to weight ratio right now? Solid. Right. Working it out. It's a little bit heavier than it was last time. And you can tell. It's a lot less happy to fly into orbit real easy like. Alright, let's rock. Throttle up. Go. We may even want to let it run just a smidge higher before I pitch over, like maybe 150 meters per second vertical speed. That might do the trick. Basically, the longer you wait to pitch over, the higher your arc is going to be, which is just fine. Okay, pitching, 5 degrees. We could also just let it ride prograde. See how that does. Maybe a little late on that, but that's okay. Doesn't hurt anything. It's getting us higher. About to have cutoff. Yeah, this is looking a lot better. I'm just going to park it on 45 right now. So we get a little higher. It's only got 4 engines because the smaller engine that basically is the analog for the J2 doesn't actually has the oomph to get it into orbit, so I had to use the Mammoths, which are basically F1 engines, just to get the thrust to weight ratio to get it into space. I'm gonna switch to prograde. So ended up just having to do 4 big ones and throttle them back a bit so that they'd have the right thrust to weight. Unfortunately, with the atmosphere in Kerbal being so thick, it's hard to be 100% accurate with everything during the launch. Alright, that's good. Alright, let's check the map, see how we're doing. We're looking pretty solid. Add a maneuver to get us into orbit. That'll do the trick. Let's see how this does. I don't think... Okay, it works. We got about 19 seconds to go. Let's get this thing lined up. We won't need the RCS once the maneuver starts. There we go. Looking solid. I'm actually surprised at how well the APS worked. That was pretty solid. We'll make sure it's not... It drained monopropellant. It's not supposed to do that. I'm gonna have to find a part that prevents that. It's okay though. We'll make it work. It's not like the command and service module doesn't have an absolute ton of monopropellant it could dump. So. That's what testing's for. It's looking good. It's a slow burner into orbit. They actually didn't really give us a engine that does a really great job of being the J2, unfortunately. So I'm using a, what is this, a skipper? Seems to do the job. It's the old school version. Alright, we're about to want to cut off power. Any second now. That's close enough. I'm going to give it a little burst of time warp to stabilize us. Very useful trick. Alright, so it gets into orbit just fine. That's a good thing. Let's do a test deploy. I'm really interested to see how badly that's draining that monoprop because it really shouldn't be. Oh well. It also shouldn't be draining that electricity. They've done something where crossfeed still works even though it's not supposed to. Not a fan. Oh well. Let's turn SAS off, turn RCS on. I'm taking nice and slow. Can we transfer by doing this? Well, we won't be able to get in there. I do have monoprop in that thing. The key with these big, heavy RCS only maneuvers is to go real slow. Unfortunately. Otherwise you can get out of hand pretty quick. But we want to drain a minimum of RCS. Go to another burst. This is working great though. I love this. I'm glad I put it in there. This should be the most advantageous position though, as far as doing the transpose. Almost there. I'm gonna turn the lights off. I know they're draining battery. That's close enough. We'll burst to stabilize, and we can go ahead and do the separation. There we go. Let's autosave because I'm trying to remember now. Yes. Excellent. Okay. So that decoupled. Set as target. Control from here. Excellent. It's looking pretty good. Ah! Come on, come on, stick. There we go. We caught it. Get a little burst. Time warp. Stabilize. It's still, man, the Clampatron Jr. is just always bouncy and weird. Never really been the most reliable docking mechanism, but hey, it fits, so we'll play with it. Alright, we should be able to just decouple now. And yep, just pull away. Excellent. It's looking good. We're going to want to test both systems there too. There we go. That actually handles really well. I'm just using the service module propulsion system. We're going to maneuver to the same attitude for this. Pretty solid. It's a little wobbly. Alright, cool. Let's transfer. Okay. So action group 5 should decouple this bad boy. I could be wrong though. Interesting. Okay, never mind. They didn't work, but that's okay. Give it a puff. Not what I want. What I want. Okay. RCS is enabled. Those are not. Turn that on. Turn that on. Looks good. Let's see what we can do. It has a tendency to wobble just a smidge, but it's not too bad. Should probably try doing like a flying out a bit and then coming back maneuver. Okay, distance propulsion system works. do a stage separation. Cool. That works. Alright. Set as target. Control from here. It's looking good. It's pretty efficient. This thing is wild. It likes to drift. Goodness gracious. It's efficient though. That's pretty good. Cool. Docking's easy enough. And it looks like it has enough to, monopropellant to do all the maneuvers it will need to do. Let's transfer our people. How did that end up there? That is not where that goes at all. Oh well. Actually, why are you not letting me decouple? There we go. Alright, so we've tested that. So now we need to just plot a landing, really. Make sure that the command pod's looking good. That ought to be nice right there. Where's that setting that? You could probably do that sooner, actually. Right here. I mean, that ought to be sufficient. Alright, we'll fast forward to that. Looks like we'll be just starting to get the sun peeking out when we do this. That looks cool. You can like see it lighten up the mountain ridges. I like that. Alright, let's have it hold. It's just going crazy. Good enough for me. I'm being very lazy with these RCS thrusters since I have so much monopropellant right now. If I was really doing this, we would be doing like real little tiny inputs, but we're just testing. Alright. We'll fast forward till we're close to atmospheric interface. Looks cool. Close enough. Whoa. Bring it back a bit. Okay. Go ahead and separate now. This thing gets a little wobbly. I should have remembered that. It is actually way better to come on, thing. And it doesn't have a lot of fuel, unfortunately. This one definitely handles best with a very light touch. But you know what? It's okay. Once it hits the atmosphere, we're going to be fine. Which is... It already is. That's why it's wobbling everywhere. Come on, thing. Looking good. There we go. Where'd the command and service module get to? Oh, there it is. It's way back there. So barring some unforeseen circumstances, I'd say this thing is capable of doing what we need it to do. There's Jewel. I'm going to go ahead and physical time warp it. Excellent. Throw out the drogue. Should be good to go. All right. Looks good. I'd say we're in business. So, there you go. One successful orbital test flight. I think everything checks out. There's a little wonkiness there with it using monoprop. It shouldn't, but I think there's enough monopropellant to make it work. Just in the whole package. Or it looked that way anyway. I think this thing's ready to fly. So I will be doing that probably tomorrow, sometime in the evening. I'm not sure the exact time yet. It'll be the evening for Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be doing the whole thing. So launch all the way to landing on the moon, all the way to coming back. I'm going to be busy tomorrow doing a whole bunch of practice and testing. I have some new information that I found about the landing sequence in the real world, and I want to try to incorporate some of it into it to make it even more accurate. But again, not everything works in Kerbal, so but it should be pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to it. If you are still watching, I hope you've been enjoying. And check me out tomorrow. It'll be the 20th, so it'll be the 50th anniversary of the landing, and we'll be running that. So, can't wait to see it. Have a good one.